Well, a few years ago, a friend of mine was traveling down West Indiana Avenue in Southern Pines when he saw smoke bellowing out of a duplex. There was a woman in the front yard screaming for help as the house behind her went up in flames. Even from a distance, you could tell it was only a matter of time before the entire duplex collapsed. Now, let me ask you, what would you do in a moment like that? You're just driving along and suddenly you see a house on fire? Do you call the police? Fire department? Do you get out of your car and start directing traffic to keep other people away? How would you respond when the danger is so close? Do you know what my friend did? He stopped his truck and he went running towards the fire. He grabbed the woman, he brought her to safety, and then he turned around and went back to the duplex and yelled to see if anyone else was inside. Now, isn't that insane? The danger was real, and he went running towards it. Maybe that's not a bad definition for what it means to be a Christian. Maybe Christians are just ordinary people who love God and are unafraid to run towards the fire when we see something wrong in this world. We can smell the smoke. We can feel the heat. And we don't wait for someone else to show up. Instead, we take the challenge head on. Christians, we run towards the flame. You see, Mark tells us when Jesus entered into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, he didn't go in through the back door. Jesus didn't climb over the wall or smuggle himself in with the luggage. Instead, Mark says, when Jesus entered Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, he went in the front door, the Golden Gate, which is to say, he took the city head on. Now, Jesus knew the danger that awaited him there. He could smell the smoke of Jerusalem. He could feel the heat of the city. 3 times already in the gospel, he had predicted his death. 3 times he had told his disciples that when he got to Jerusalem, there was a cross waiting for him. In fact, just days earlier on this journey, Jesus turned to the 12 and said to them, "Friends, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and they will hand him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him and spit upon him and flog him and kill him." Yes, Jesus knew the danger, and he showed up anyway. "Hosanna," the people cried out, "Hosanna," which literally translates as "save us." The people there in Jerusalem were crying out to Jesus for salvation, and he knew what he had to do next. "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem," Jesus once said, "you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you." Yes, Jesus ran towards the fire. And why? Well, that's just what people of faith do. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine several years ago who told me that he was going to quit his job at Habitat and move to El Salvador to become a missionary. I said, "Really? El Salvador? Not Costa Rica or Belize? Why El Salvador? Isn't that one of the more dangerous countries in Central America?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "El Salvador's got it all. It's got gangs and political corruption. It's got systemic poverty like you can't even begin to imagine. In fact, the United Nations called El Salvador the deadliest country outside of any war zone in the world." "It is a rough place to live," he said. "But what better place to share the love of Christ?" Yes, Christians hear the cries of the world around us, and we respond. We hear the people calling out for salvation, and we don't wait for someone else to show up. Instead, we go into the fire. Today is Palm Sunday in the church. It's also called Passion Sunday. It's the Sunday when we remember that Jesus willingly embraced a cross. Prophet Isaiah once said of the coming Messiah, "He was pierced for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed." Yes, Jesus embraced his calling so that other people could be saved. Jesus sacrificed himself so that other people could live. The actor John Wayne once said, "Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway." Which is to say, if you're going to be a Christian, well, you better go ahead and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because Jesus is going to force you to go to places that you otherwise would never go. He's going to put you in places of deep discomfort. And when he does, you'll have two options. You can either run towards the fire or you can run away from it. You can either embrace that calling or you can wait for someone else to do it for you. Jesus embraced the calling God gave him. Jesus, he welcomed the struggle. He went directly into the flames because he knew that's where God wanted him to be. I'm reminded of a thank you note we received not too long ago from the labor and delivery staff over at the First Health Hospital. The staff there was writing to thank us for our cradle ministry here at church. You see, for years, our United Methodist men have built miniature caskets, or cradles as we call them, that the hospital staff can give to parents who have lost a child during birth. Now, it's such a devastating time for families to have that worst moment of your life, that moment when you lose a child. And those cradles they were just our attempt to remind those families that they are loved, that they are not alone in their struggle. The thank you note we received said, "Dear Pinehurst United Methodist, please let the men of your church know that all of their work that they put into the cradles is greatly appreciated by both the parents and the staff members of First Health. I just used one 2 weeks ago. The family asked if we had anything for their baby boy to be buried in because it was going to be very expensive to purchase a casket from the funeral home, and they didn't want to do cremation. Tears filled their eyes when I brought the cradle into their room and told them how these wonderful men take time out of their schedule to make these for families. I want the men and the volunteers to know their ministry is so greatly appreciated in a true expression of love and kindness." Yes, when we hear the cries of the world around us, we have two options. We can run towards the fire or we can run away from it. We can embrace the call God gives us, or we can wait for someone else to do it for us. As Jesus went into Jerusalem as the people cried out, "Hosanna, save us." Yes, I'm guessing there's someone in your life right now that is going through hell. They could use a good friend. I'm guessing that there is someone, and if you think about it, I bet you know who it is. There is someone who's going through the worst moment of their life, and they need to be reminded that they are loved and they are not alone. And I know that you are scared to death of their pain, and I know you don't want to go, but I want you to saddle up anyway. Because Christians go into the fire. Because that is where God calls us to be.